All right.
Hey, here we are live. Thank you for joining us, Cody. Awesome to be back. It's our second week now doing live like this.
Second week, Jerry. I love it.
Definitely some bugs we're working out. I don't like my audio. I might be a little blotchy. We'll work on that and get this better. But we are seriously thinking, guys, about making this a regular thing, like a real thing, like same time every week. So if you think that's a great idea, go ahead, join the chat and let us know. Say, hey, guys, I'd love this idea. Cody and I talked a lot about it throughout the week that we really want to do some fun stuff where we're gonna actually get to a invite that Cody invited onto the call, talk about his deal. We're gonna also open the lines up for some Q&A. So get busy on that chat. We're gonna try to man that well. And we're gonna be talking a little bit too about wholesaling and flipping in 2021. It's exciting that we're about to end the year. It's been an amazing year for you, Cody. It's been an awesome year for me too in the business. So I'm fired up. I mean, Cody, how are you feeling about 2021 overall?
2021, I believe, is going to be phenomenal. I think I've heard the word tsunami, and so I'm going to roll with that word. I do think there's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty historical, Jerry, to be honest. I think what's going to take place is they're going to need a lot of good people. I think this is a business where if you're not careful, it may be where some people are taking advantage of people, but I don't work that way, nor do you, Jerry. I just look at it as there's going to be a need for great individuals that can solve a lot of problems that are going to be coming our way in 2021.
Yeah, well, we saw regulation happening in 2020, 2019, more in 2020, Philly's new law, and we saw some stuff going on in Oklahoma. So wholesaling, I've been saying this for a while, Cody, but wholesaling is going to be regulated. It's too big now. It's a real thing. Yeah. So regulations coming to a city near you or a state near you, which means the barrier to entry into wholesaling is going to the bar is going to get raised. It's going to get harder. And that's a good, I'm looking at that as a good thing because hopefully we can create some standards. I don't like regulation. It's not that, but the idea of making the barrier to entry a little bit steeper.
Yeah.
On the flip side is going to also create, I think, a higher standard of ethics in the industry, which would be a good thing, I think, for the people doing it the right way right now.
I 100% agree. The gap's going to get further and further. We always talk about this, Jerry. I think this is something we've talked about maybe a couple times, even when I was out in Arizona, is that gap of when to start is starting to get harder, or it's starting to get further between the ones that are already going and the ones that aren't. And it's like, plant the seed. We talk about when's the best time to plant a tree. Yeah, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I get it. So we can have shade. But the next best time is right now. So guys, I want you to understand that there is something big around the corner. And our hope is that you see the big picture and you see that your time is now, and that you don't wait until you say, well, I'm going to see if it comes up. I'm going to see. By that time, I think it's starting to get too late. That's when it's that time's been passed. Plant the seed now. So we're excited to be with you today. And I think there's going to be great stuff. We've got people here that say, go Jerry. I like what this. I love what Justin said here. Give these guys some love. Smash that like button now. Yeah. I love this. Awesome. Great, guys. Great to be here. It looks like people love the idea of us doing this weekly, Jerry, which is awesome. I love your videos so much. I'm getting ready to do my first deal after getting my license. Jerry, this is good stuff, bro. Yeah. And they're back. How's it going, fellas? Hope all is well. Gabriel, nice to see you. Really, guys, excited. We got much love from it looks like, man, we got people from Jersey. We've got people from everywhere. So, well, Jerry, let's get into this. Guys, like Jerry said, we do have a guest with us today. We want to bring him on. His name is Greg Burney, and so I'm going to be bringing him on. And the main thing behind Greg and why we wanted to bring him on today is we want to break down where we invite guests to come on. And these guests, by the way, those watching, could be you. And we're going to find a way through all this progress, not perfection, how to get you guys to share with us some of the deals you're doing, where we can break it down on these lives so people can get inspired, so people can get motivated and want to get up off the couch and get out of this learning mode and get into the earning mode and start making money doing deals, wholesaling. So
in fact, Cody, let's go ahead and ask everybody that's on right now, leave a comment. And if you've learned something from me or from Cody that's helped you do a deal and you'd like to be on the show, go ahead and leave a comment. We'll do our best to kind of maybe track that or get back to you if we can. But no promises. But if you'd like to be on the show like Greg is and kind of share a little bit about your story, we'd love to be able to talk to you about that. So
fantastic. Well, Greg Burney, my friend, welcome to the show that one day is going to have a name. Me and Jerry are going to get creative. We're going to get creative one of these days. But I will tell you, it's an honor to have you here. We're excited. I've gotten to know Greg for quite some time now. He is an individual that serves people at a very high level and is in wholesaling in Greensboro, North Carolina. They were just out in Utah last week and got to meet his wife for the first time. But you're going to feel the love. You're going to feel the heart, the spirit behind this guy and why he's so successful in wholesaling. So, Greg, kind of give us maybe a small little background, high level intro about yourself.
For sure. Cody, Jerry, I appreciate, first of all, you guys having me on. And I'm psyched to be your first guest, man. My kids remind me first is the worst. So I'm assuming there's just nowhere to go but up from here. But no, guys, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina, married, dad of 3. I got into wholesaling just about 2.5 years ago. Cody knows my story well, but briefly, I was working in healthcare in a corporate role and lost my corporate sponsorship. And I had done a couple deals here and there on the side, but decided that was the opportunity the universe was giving me to give it a go full time. And I have not looked back since. So again, I'm in year 3. I have already surpassed what the 5-year goal was. And wholesaling is just an unbelievable business, an unbelievable way to really serve people and make people's lives better. So I just love it. I'm happy to be here.
Excited, man. Excited. Well, guys, throughout this, I want you guys to understand something, and that is this. Not only are we going to have Greg break down a deal, our hope is from this, and I want you guys right now start thinking about this. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, and there's going to be gold nuggets shared. I can promise you that. Of things that we're going to do a live case study of a deal that Greg just recently did. And you're going to want to jot notes. This is something I can tell you. Success is all around us. Now's the time to really hone in and listen to what principles you can extract from that success so that you can just simply R&D, not research and develop. That's what gets people into this analysis paralysis. But simply rip off and duplicate exactly what we're going to go over today. So let's go. Get those notes ready. So live Q&A also. So during this, if you have certain questions that you're like, man, I wasn't clear on that, or, okay, so what marketing channel did that come from? Please chime in. We're going to do the best we can to capture these questions. There's a lot of people on here, so we're going to do the best we can, but we're going to try and capture questions while Greg's sharing about his deal breakdown. But more importantly, guys, this is for you guys. We want you guys inspired and motivated to get out after this and go do deals. So let's go. So Greg, break us down from the beginning, and then Jerry, chime in where you have great questions. You have some of the best questions out there. But let's start us off right from the beginning. The deal we're talking about, where did you get this lead from? What kind of list did you get this from?
Yeah, so this lead came for Driving for Dollars. That was my honestly my first marketing channel when I got started in wholesaling. I was like many of us when we got started, yellow pad in the car, driving around on off hours, marking down addresses. I've since built some systems around that. So this was a lead that came from Driving for Dollars, and it was a direct mail lead. I was curious when I was just prepping for tonight. I was curious to look back and see at what point in the cycle did this seller respond to our marketing. I know when I was first beginning, I don't know about you guys, I'll hear a lot of new folks say, I tried a marketing channel and it didn't work. And I was the same way. I'd get a list, man, I'd send one mailer and I'd say, well, that didn't work. So interestingly, this guy responded not to the first, not to the second, not to the third, not to the fourth, but the fifth time I mailed him. And when I got out to the house, you know, like many of our sellers who get direct mail, he had a stack of 40 cards just waiting for me. So this was a driving for dollars lead. I remember he called in late in the afternoon. It was, you know, maybe 4:30, and I had a few more things to wrap up. And it was, I'm so glad I answered the call live, because as you'll hear through the story, this was, he was ready to go, and he had a stack of 30 cards to call. And I guess I got lucky that mine was on top. But he called and started telling me a little bit about the house. It was an inherited property, but not recently inherited. His father had died, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And he referenced the house being vacant. He referenced the house needing a lot of work. Gosh, you know, I don't even know if you're going to want to buy it. But there was, you guys have had these calls. There was something in his voice that, as I'm just building rapport on the phone, I'm packing up my laptop and putting it in the bag. I'm grabbing my keys. I grabbed the address and I said, I got 20 minutes. And somewhere in those 20 minutes, I'm going to tell him I'm on my way, because this was a guy that needed help quickly.
Okay, hold right there. Jared, do you have any questions first and foremost, or any clarity to give also to those watching?
Yeah, so I want to make sure everybody listening is clear on what he did here. So he did a driving for dollars to identify this distressed property, but then driving for dollars, you find like a possible lead, but then you've got to make contact with that seller. So what Greg did is he then introduced a direct mail campaign on that particular house he found driving for dollars, right? So he started mailing. Now I want to point out something here too. It used to be, I used to do mailings where I would do a three and done, you know, 1, 2, 3, done. But in the past year or two, we have increased it to 6. And you are a very good example of why we should be doing that, because it takes some time. And sometimes he may be looking at that stack that he got, and you're 6 of the 30, and you automatically now get a little bit more legitimacy, because in his mind, it's kind of like, this guy's probably for real. Like, look at his marketing he's doing. And it might even be, you know, unspoken or, you know, unconscious, but he might be thinking you're a little bit more legit. I'm sure timing played a factor, because oftentimes timing does play a factor. The fact that you answered the phone, the fact that you got right on it. Oftentimes speed wins the deal. In a lot of cases, speed wins the deal. So, you know, a couple things there to just clarify to everybody listening on how he did that strategy.
One thing I want to also share, and then Greg's going to jump right in, is driving for dollars is unique to you guys. Remember that. Yes, there could be some of those names that you come across that are on someone else's list because maybe they pulled a tax delinquent list, but that whole list in its entirety is only unique to you and no one else. So it's kind of a special list. It's one that you'll ultimately want a team in place to start pulling for you, so you're not always driving for the dollars. But again, echoing what Jerry said, you got your marketing right. You got the holy grail, or the trifecta of marketing. That's the right message to the right person at the right time. It's crucial that you keep that mailing or that marketing always actively going, because we're in the business of change, and there's a lot of change going on. A no yesterday could very much be a yes today, but your marketing has to get in front of them when they want to say yes. So kudos to you.
One more thought I want to add to that, Cody and Greg, maybe tell us. But when you think about generating a lead, obviously, the more times you can touch that lead, the greater you increase your chances of getting a deal. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you should do all these other things, but you want to be aware of them. So, I mean, you could have left a door hanger. You could have knocked the door. You could have skip traced and found the phone number and cold called, right? You could have done a ringless voicemail. There's multiple ways that you could try to get in touch with one of these leads. And there is no right answer, right? A lot of people say, well, what's the best way? There is no right answer. You test and you try it, you test it, you see results, you test, you see results, you figure out what works for you, you know, and that's just kind of part of the marketing process of getting in front of that lead. I want to ask you, Greg, did you choose any other marketing channels when you found that Driving for Dollars lead?
No, so I have, I'm scaling now going into my third year, but I have built a business solely around direct mail.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So that's what to be thinking about, right? Because you could have also followed up from direct mail with cold calling, skip trace cold call, and that could have been another way. So these are just some things that you can be thinking about, Greg, as you start to scale. Not that that was wrong or that direct mail or the only way. It's just what other options do you have, and how are you managing your marketing budgets, right?
Here's a good question for you, Greg. Can you see that on your screen?
I can't. Tell me.
It says, what wording in your mailer do you think stood out to the seller? What set yours apart?
So, Cody and Jerry may blast me for this, but I am a believer that I don't know how much the message matters as much as consistency. I think consistency and picking up the phone or calling back as quickly as possible are going to be the difference makers. I know a lot of folks that spend a lot of time on wordsmithing and tweaking every single thing. I think it's great to test and give it, more than 1 or 2 postcards in a test. But at the end of the day, I've tried several different postcards. My greatest successes have come when I've answered the phone live and when I've been consistent with marketing.
Whew. I love it. I'm not even going to fight with that, actually. Jerry, do you want to put a fight?
I kind of do. So 2 things. In marketing, you've got kind of 2 things, right? You've got traffic and conversion. Your traffic in direct mail would be, was there something about your mail piece that got him to call that one first? And that's something to be aware of, maybe ask or look into. It could just be you were first in line, or you had 6 of them, so he thought you were more. It could be a number of things, but it could very well have been something about your mail piece grabbed his attention and he called you over the others. It could be he started at the top of the list, right? So it could not be that, but it could be that. But the biggest thing that everybody's got to realize is that, everybody's got the same data. That's why he got multiple mail pieces.
Sure.
And the data's cheap now. We can do mailing for pretty cheap. We can get on the phones. We can do these things. We can get cold callers, VAs. I think the skill that we have to hone in is our presentation, is our sales. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, Greg, and say that he did business with you because he liked and trusted you, right? Because had that not happened, he'd have hung up on the next mail piece he got. But we'll do business with people they like and trust. And so I think there was probably something about that conversation where you connected with him on a level that built that trust. And then he may have even talked to other people, right? But ended up going with you and there's just no way around it. He liked and trusted you, and that's why he did business with you.
I love it. Greg, back to you, bro.
Awesome. So, so I'm going out to the house. I get out to the house, and it was a really interesting situation. So the house is trashed. I mean, it is.
Give us a breakdown. What does trash look like?
Trash looks like totally overgrown, can barely get to the front door. There is just garbage piled up all over the kitchen. There's holes in the wall. There's, like smoke stains all over the walls. There are actually needles all over the house.
One of those.
Yeah, so one of those houses, and you remember he told me that the house was vacant. I went in and we're chatting, and I'm noticing there's a dog in the garage, and there's a couple cats around, and there's a mattress over in the corner. And it's one of those situations that, from my perspective, I just really wanted to understand how I could help this guy, because it was clear, just through talking to him, there were elements of his story that he probably didn't want to open up about very quickly. But at the end of the day, yeah, he was clearly staying there. Electricity was off. It doesn't get this deal was last month. It's not too cold in North Carolina in November, but it's cold enough that you need heat. So there's, no utilities on at the house. So this guy's clearly in a rough way. And that was the setting and the context. And at the end of the day, I really just wanted to figure out, how can I help this guy? This may be a deal, or this may be, you know, it may turn into a 15-minute visit where I can just figure out, is there something I can do to help him, even if I'm not the one buying the house?
Phenomenal.
That
Guys, I want you to
mindset-
pause right there.
Yeah.
I want you to think about that mindset, that mentality. And there's no doubt in my mind when I hear people that are really succeeding at a high level, anyone I believe can get into the business and do these onesie twosie deals and maybe land across one that's a low hanging fruit or what they call like a laydown or something like that. I believe that can come across to anyone. But the longevity of this business and the success of this business and really growing it into something that Greg's talking about, I want you to jot this down. His mindset is all about genuinely serving these people, regardless if he is the solution, regardless if he is the one that buys the home or not. He is genuinely going to these homes and serving these people at such a high level so that he just comes up with a solution. It may be that it's him, and if not, he still serves these individuals to find the right solution for them. And that, my friend, is why he will continue to succeed at this high level. So keep going.
Appreciate that, Cody. Yeah. So just spent a lot of time. He told me all about his dad and that whole process of when he passed away several years ago. And finally, just through chatting and talking, you know, we both played sports in high school. We're both about the same age. So I was just, you know, learning everything about him that I could. I actually have started, this is like a really silly ninja trick around rapport, but I'm not wearing it right now, but a smartwatch that I can just set a silent timer on. And it's usually somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. And I am, my rule for myself, I'm not allowed to ask about the house, look at the house, do anything until that timer goes off. And usually it goes off and the seller's in the middle of a story. So it's another 20 minutes or so. But just spend as much time with him on rapport as we could. Because again, this, I know we've all been around these individuals. This guy he had a lot of baggage to unpack and was having a challenging time. And he started again to open up more, and without divulging too many details, just said, look, there's tax liens. I have a judgment against me. I was staying with a friend and that's not happening anymore. I'm out.
And I'm going to go out on a limb. There's probably meth in the home with needles around the floor.
Clearly some drug use as well. So, you know, again, we're not there to judge. We're just there to say, tell me the situation. Let me see how I can help.
I love it. Any questions from there, Jerry?
Well, so I like that you have a build rapport rule. That's great, because it's finding that motivation is going to come out the more he kind of shares and talks. So sometimes we think we have to have like these formal things, we have to have this script, we have to ask these specific questions. But in my experience, which is I think what happened in your case, is by just letting him feel like you're concerned and you're there to help, the wall comes down, because there's always a wall when we initially start these conversations, because you're the investor, you're coming here to rip me off and steal my house, right? Like that's the mindset or the fear that a seller has. So when you come in there and you're very approachable and you're letting that seller know, hey, I'm just here to help. How can I help the situation? And that then allows that seller to then feel open enough to then share. And the point now is you're trying to understand what's going on. You're learning more about the property, more about the situation, more about how you could structure a deal, how you could help. Maybe you walk out of there and say, you know, the best thing for you to do is not sell it to me, or, you know, but you're uncovering all of that and you're just listening, and that's powerful.
Love it. So here you are in front of this individual. You can clearly see there's motivation. From there, what were you able to do so that you could put it under contract or put an agreement together at a discount?
So, you know, we chatted more and more, had never really gotten to price. And there was a natural break in the conversation. I said, so level with me. Why'd you call me? What are you looking to see happen? And he said, well, I've got to get this house sold, and I'm really hoping to have it sold within the next couple of weeks. And so he gave a number that he laughed when he said it. I think he knew it was completely unrealistic. This is a house that's worth maybe 125. He said, well, boy, I'd love to get 90 out of it, but I realize 90 is probably not anywhere near where you need to be. And I just kind of went with the joke and I said, yeah, man, I'm not sure I'm going to be at half of that. And he kind of laughed, said, yeah, that's what I figured. And I don't know how in depth you guys want to get that. Humor can be a great way to, I don't know if you guys want to talk about anchoring, but humor can be a really great way after you've built rapport to just soften that blow. Most people don't want to hear, you're only going to pay half of what I'm hoping to get for it. But again, within the context of that rapport we were building, it just made total sense to be like, dude, I don't even know that I could do half of that.
In a joking way, in a way that's not, you're making an offer or making a statement without making a definitive statement. You're basically saying, you're not saying, sorry, I can only do 40 grand. That's very definitive. That draws a line in the sand. And it's like, it's either this or there's no deal. And if you do it that way, you definitely won't get a deal, probably 10 times out of 10. But you're anchoring. I love that word. You're anchoring low. This is a Chris Voss technique, guys, from Never Split the Difference. If you haven't read that book, highly suggest not just read it, but become a student of it.
Yeah, and read it 10 times.
Yeah, like anchor. Anchor is, you got to say a price that hurts your gut. Like you got to be in there like, oh, if I say this, that might be offensive. Like you have to really feel this feeling. If you're not feeling that feeling, you're simply not doing yourself a service. You've got to be able to say something that gives you the quickest no possible. And we learned from Chris Voss in that book that no is the beginning of all negotiation. You want them to say no. You don't want, Jerry, tell me this. If you make an offer and I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Instantly, what do you actually feel or think about?
Overpaying. Yeah.
Overpaying. I paid way too much. That guy just accepted this offer. That means I'm overpaying. I did not get that low enough. Yeah. You want no's. You don't want yeses, guys. Too many times I think we're saying, gosh, I just want a yes. I just want a yes. I'm here to tell you, no, you do not. You want a no. No is the beginning of all negotiation, but you can do it in a way that doesn't sound definitive. You can do the if.
Another way, Cody, that I like to say the same thing that Greg just did is I'll do the takeaway, which is kind of what Greg did. He did a takeaway, right? Is I'll say, you know what, I'm probably not the right buyer for you. And
yeah.
what I do, it's kind of doing the same thing. It's kind of saying, you know what, the price you just gave me, we're so far off. It's probably not even worth continuing. And what that does then is it kind of puts it back on him where he's kind of, usually they'll come back and they'll be like, well, what do you mean? Why not? And it's kind of like, well, I'm lessening this whole blow. The mistake I see a lot of wholesalers make is they walk in and they go, oh, you want 200? You know what? Your house is a disaster. This thing is not worth a dime over 100,000. And you just offended them. You know what I mean? So what Greg did is he did it in a way to where he's reestablishing, he's resetting price by automatically coming in and saying something like that. Like, you know what? I probably can't pay half of that. Or, you know what? I'm probably not your buyer. You could probably get way more another way. Or the way something I'll often do is I'll say, you know what? You should probably, I think the best thing for you to do is hire a real estate agent and find a retail buyer if you want that much money. That's going to be your best way to get that price. And then automatically what you do is you can contrast now between retail and cash.
Yeah.
And clearly they want cash because of the convenience. They don't want to fix anything up. They don't want to go on market. They don't want to pay commissions. They don't want to wait, all those things. So that's another great way to do it. But I love that. I love that way of saying it, which is I probably can't even, I can probably only pay half of that, or I can't even pay half of that. I love that.
Greg, by the way, look at some of these gold nuggets. Jerry, look at some of these people jotting down. So here's the gold nuggets someone has taken away already. And it says answered live, meaning you're answering the phone live. I can't agree with you more. Building rapport. You said you set your watch for 30 minutes to build rapport before you even talk about the house. Had a servant attitude, rapid response, get back to him as quick as possible. Sounds like a recipe for success. So whoever that is, thank you for sharing some of the gold nuggets that you've already taken away from this. Keep going, Greg. So you get this going, you put an anchor out there. What does this lead to? And ultimately, what were you able to put the home under contract for?
So we landed verbally at 52,000, and this is where it got a little sticky. I realized in the midst of this conversation, I had to stop, and I said, look, it sounds like you want to sell this home. It sounds like you're great with 52,000. That's a price I can pay. Why haven't we signed a purchase agreement yet? Because he kept kind of dancing around it. And, again, there was a great basis of rapport. I felt a little nervous asking that because it was truly like okay, I've brought up the idea of, hey, let's get this on paper. We're aligned like 4 times now. Mm-hmm. And he kept coming up with sort of, not excuses, but just sort of kept dodging the question. And, I need to sleep on it. Let me just think about it and let me get back to you tomorrow. And so this, he referenced again, and this is the nature of what we were dealing with. He was going to sign a contract with the first person that brought him cash. And so this is where this is the first time I've done this. I literally never do this, but again, imperfect action. It felt like the right thing in the moment. I said, here's what I'm going to do. It sounds like we're really close. And I'm wondering if you just need some time to think about it. I want to put some money down so I'm serious. I'm going to run to the bank because I only got about $18 on me, and that's probably not enough. But I'm going to run to the bank, and I'll be back in a half hour. So I came back again, half hour, gave him some time to stew. I knew if I went home that night, there was no chance I was getting that contract. Because
time kills all
deals. So,
and attorneys. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Hopefully they save more than they kill, but I don't know. Might be 50-50. So he came back, put $500 in his pocket. Obviously wrote that into the contract that was coming off the purchase price at closing. And we got under contract at 52,000.
Amazing, wow. Amazing. And this had, just to give a perspective, after this home was fixed up, ARV, after repair value, when you guys hear that term, that's what we're talking about. What would be after fixed up? What would this home be going for?
So if your areas are like mine, last year, 115, 120, and there's just such little inventory on the retail side that you can make an argument that it's, maybe pushing 135.
Okay. So 135 all fixed up, but this kind of builds in everyone's mind on here what we're talking about when we say, when you're out there negotiating a price and you're trying to get on a discount, what it has to look like so you can start to see that there could be a potential here to make some money and serve people still at a high level, guys. I want to make sure that's first and foremost in everyone's mind. But he's getting this literally, 45 cents on the dollar? I mean, let's throw out maybe a random number. 45, 50 cents on the dollar is what he's getting this home under contract for. Now, guys, these are not fixed up homes. You heard this. This is needles all over. This is a hoarder house. This is smoke stains throughout the house. These are homes that are not the beautiful homes in the neighborhood. These are the homes that are the eyesores, the ones that all the neighbors saying, man, one day I hope this gets fixed up. Man, one day I hope they move out so we can clean up our neighborhood. That's the homes that majority of the times when you're going on, that's really the scenario that you're going at. And so you can't pay retail because they're not in retail value shape. They're in a distressed shape. They're either in a distressed shape, the home, or the seller's in a distressed situation. So
Cody, to hit on that real quick, this house is in a nice neighborhood. And when I did an inspection day, I had some neighbors to deal with because it's a quiet street and there were 20 cars that showed up for the inspection and, neighbors coming out wondering what's going on. So I went proactively and chatted with a couple of them. Here's what I'm doing. Here's why all these cars are here. And I think I spoke with 2 or 3. Each one of them said, thank gosh, this has been an eyesore in the neighborhood for several years. And so I think that's had a big impact on the street, on the community.
So I'm curious, Greg, what formula did you follow to arrive at that price on your offer?
20 seconds of research on my phone on the way to the house because I knew he was motivated and needed help. And I knew it was worth somewhere between 105 and 150.
Okay. But
and then get it as low as possible.
Okay. So you didn't follow like an ARV 80%, 75% less repairs minus wholesale fee. You didn't really follow that formula. Okay. Yeah.
And I think sometimes that can actually challenge and hurt most people because they start to overanalyze and then they're in their car not 20 seconds like Greg. Sometimes it can dig. Some people can do it and do it really quick and be effective and do it in 3 minutes or less. Jerry, I bet you do it in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But for most people, they'll go out there and they start analyzing. And they're like, but you also know the cost of literally everything. Where some of these people start making up and then they're like, oh, then they start second guessing. They're like, oh, wait, so I think it's 15K, but what if it's actually a 25K rehab? I love this like short and skinny, simple method of just, hey, I think here's the ARV. And now I'm just going to do whatever I can to get as low as possible. And that's why this anchoring is so good. Guys, think about this. I don't even know if I can pay half that. Even if they come back frustrated, like, oh my gosh, then why are you in my house? You can literally have fun with this. 'Tis the season to have fun with this. We could be like, guys, in a perfect world, yeah, I'd like to spend $45,000. I get it. We're not in a perfect world. Like COVID-19 is going on. We don't even know who the president of the United States is, for heaven's sakes. Like you can have fun with this and then ultimately say, but how close can you come to my number?
Yeah, well, and Greg, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that you probably have already established what your values are in that neighborhood, meaning, if you can get the contract for 52, that neighborhood, you can find a buyer for, 65 or 70 or whatever your number is, or, I just made that up. And sometimes we overthink wholesaling when really, if you just kind of understand and know where the cash buyers are paying in any given area or any given neighborhood, now all of a sudden your analysis is super simple. Like I've got markets where I'm like, you know what? I can get something pretty hammered. It really doesn't matter if the rehab's 25 or 30 or 40, whatever it is. I know a buyer is going to want this house for 70. So then that sets my bar for now where I need to be at on my offer. And it's that simple. But that just comes with really understanding and learning your market, learning what the cash buyer values are in any given neighborhood. So I'm curious with you, how did you know that was a good number to then be able to wholesale it and make a profit?
Yeah. So again, I did the 2-second glance and review, and I know generally my active buyers on my cash buyer list are always trying to train me that they've got to have it at, a super dialed in ARV that we spent 5 hours preparing and no more than 70% of that minus repairs. So, certainly in the back of my head is, I'm going to go a little bit on the low side. Let's say this house is worth 110. I can sort of quickly figure out, okay, I want to be, somewhere around 40% off of that. But again, Jerry, I don't spend a ton of time on it. I have an idea, this is a great rental neighborhood. It's going to be a good flip area. With the work it needs, somebody's going to be in the 70 range.
But Greg, did you intrinsically know that? Because you put $500 in cash in this guy's pocket, which you're not getting back.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew. Yeah.
I'm not giving that back to you. That's not helping.
Yeah. I knew it was a low enough number that I was I didn't think I'd make what I made on it, but it was a low enough number that I'm going to get that $500 back and, a decent assignment out of it. I certainly knew that much.
Which, guys, by the way, I don't recommend giving your seller $500 in cash for earnest money, unless you're super confident. Yeah. Because even if you had title issues, getting that cash back probably ain't going to happen. Right. So you went out on a limb, you took a risk, and I love it because, guys, you gotta put yourself out there sometimes. You gotta be willing to risk sometimes $500 to get a deal done. And you knew, if I can put some cash in this guy's pocket, he'll sign right now. And so you took that risk. You rolled the dice. That's not always going to work out. I can tell you I've done stuff like that, feeling like, hey, this might be a good move. It might be, I might look back and say I'm a genius or I'm an idiot, but I'm willing to do something right now to make action happen. Right. And so commend you for that, because I see a lot of people and they're like, hey, I don't want to risk $5. I don't want to risk $100. I don't want any risk. And there's just no way to really grow this business if you can't take risk. And the more you flex that risk muscle, the bigger deals you'll do.
That's great.
How many people watching this, by the way, love that $500 down risk to be like a closing tool? If so, Jerry, I'm going to go with the slogan that you use that I love. In the comments, I want you to put, Greg, you're a flipping genius. I'd like to see where our risk tolerance is with this group of people.
Let's do it. Greg, you're a flipping genius. That was genius, because you gathered from this seller, whoever's going to give me some cash in my pocket, that's who I'm going to sign with. Now, that's not an every time thing. That's not a normal thing. You wouldn't normally do that. Normally we don't do earnest money, or we let title hold it so we can get it back if we need it back. But you read between the lines. You saw the seller's what his hot button was, and you pressed that hot button with $500 and got it done. That's genius.
And I think I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I also don't recommend it. I'll end this year close to 35 deals. This is the one and only deal that I did that with. It literally the only one I've ever done.
Yeah.
Now, guys, go for it, Jerry.
I was just going to say, I've had deals where these were on market, because on market knows better, where they've said, we'll take your offer, but you have to waive inspection, waive contingencies, and put earnest money down that goes hard right this minute. In other words, if I don't perform, I lose it. And I know that. But I put that $3,000 or $1,000 or whatever, just because I take that risk. I know my confidence level. I feel good about the numbers. I feel good about the deals that I can do the deal and wholesale it and make some money. And I'm willing to take that kind of a risk. So the answer isn't do that, guys. It's, what are you willing to do to make a deal happen? Are you willing? If it's there's my cat. If you're willing to, and Greg, you were willing to lose $500 to try that. You were willing to, because you knew if this thing goes south, I ain't getting that $500 back. But if you're not willing to, don't ever do something like that. If it's your last $500, I wouldn't recommend it. But I love it. It's so cool.
Here's the side of the coin, though, I want everyone to recognize. Once you've been doing this for a little bit and you really know your numbers, you know your KPIs, your key performance indicators, I want you to understand that that's also going to share something with you that you may find out your average cost per conversion, meaning close a deal. It's not unheard of to have it be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 cost per conversion. So I sit here and I look in this educated risk. I'm like, man, I've already spent $5,000 to get it to this point, and for $100 more, I could get it over the other end. Like, I can bring it to the closing line. I can bring it to the finish line. For me, I'm already looking at it like I'm already into this thing $5,000. For $100 more, why not? Like, I'm going to roll the dice on that all the time. But again, this all comes out. He's now doing 35 deals. As you get more and more seasoned, you're also going to get really, really good at knowing your markets, knowing your areas where you won't even be pulling comps. You're literally just like, oh yeah, we did 4 deals in this neighborhood last week. I already know what I'm supposed to pay for this. I already know what I'm going to make on this. And yeah, I'm willing to put $4,000 down if he wants $4,000 because you're so certain on it. Again, this comes back to an educated risk. There could be something on title that says, hey, they actually don't have equity. They actually have all these judgments against it, and you may never get that money back. So I would never say $4,000, but I always look at it like $500 or less. I give every one of our acquisition managers the free will that they have $500 for any transaction that they want to put under contract, that they have up to $500, whether that's, hey, we'll get a dumpster here so you can clean out your garage, whether that's cash, I'll go to the store and I'll grab you cash, whether that's a gift card, because we've already invested so much money for those leads in the first place that it's like $100 for me is like no brainer if it means it can get it to the closing line.
What's going to get the deal done?
Yeah, I love that. Awesome.
Perfect. Well, Greg, finalize it, and then we're going to start doing some Q&A. So you put this under contract at 52, and then did you use the method of just assigning it to cash buyer, to your cash buyers list?
Yep. So we had inspection, had all the cash buyers who were interested there at once. Like I said, there were about 20 people that came out. since this is where this guy was staying and he was clearly destitute, he totally partnered with me. I think that's a key piece, is like, just be upfront with sellers. They know the entire process. So he said, I said, listen, I'm going to have some partners coming out. This is the day and time we're coming. Do you want me to buy you lunch and so you can kind of get out of here? And he said, no, I'm just going to hang out in the back shed with the dog. So he was literally, during the inspection, in the back shed with the dog. And we
let's clarify, when Greg says inspection, it's his cash buyer party, right? He's having his cash buyers come tour the property. You know, we refer to our cash buyers as partners. We refer to that time and meeting as an inspection. This is language you're using with the seller for you to then be able to wholesale your deal.
That's right.
If you act it as a showing, just to put it in perspective, when you use the word showing, you're starting, if you're not a licensed real estate agent, you're now acting as a licensed real estate agent. So it's crucial that these things are in place. So hosting an inspection, and that you're teaming up with partners. You may buy it, you may have it as a rental, you may fix and flip it, or you might team up with one of your partners.
Yeah, that's right. So we ended up with several offers. All were in mid 60s to there was one in the high 60s. And then
the outlier. Tell me the outlier. Let's hear it.
And then the outlier who said, I flipped one in this neighborhood, one street over. We just sold it like 2 months ago, and we really liked it. And how we want to move my sister into a rental over here. So she came in at 70. I don't know if Cody wants me to divulge his magical text, but I sent a magical text and we ended up at 75.
75. Wow. You got an additional $5,000 from the magical text. I love it. Let's keep the secret for a minute and just build up some fire here for a minute. So you send out the text, you get an additional $5,000. You send it for $75,000. Let's do the math. You put it under for 52. Up to that, now you're at $23,000 assignment. Is my math correct?
Your math is correct.
I love it. So guys, $23,000. Now, I don't share this for Greg to have like this bragging moment or prideful moment, but Greg, from start to finish, just so people can see the joy of this. Is it hard? Yes, it's hard. It's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. How many hours did you invest into this from start to finish, from the first conversation to take it to close? If you could just throw a ballpark. I know this is a tough question, but kind of be honest and even pat it a little.
Sure. I would say more than 5, certainly less than 10, probably somewhere in the 5 to 7 range.
Let's call it 10, just to be safe. 10 hours, guys. 10 into 25,000, guys. You can do the math. That is awesome. That's over $2,000 an hour that Greg is being paid to do this. Times that by the 35 deals that he did this year, and you can start to see how this can be really, really good if you can start getting consistent. Does any of this come to pass if you don't stay consistent with your marketing?
Absolutely not.
It all begins.
That is the fastest way to get out of this business is to stop marketing.
Yeah. So I've got a really important question for you, Greg, because the way I like to look at every single deal is I always want to understand what just happened. Meaning, why did that cash buyer pay that price, so that I can understand what was in his head, so that I can repeat the same thing again and again and again. So I start doing the math immediately. When that buyer says they'll pay 75, I instantly want to know, where are you getting that number? Why is that a deal for you? How are you looking at this? Is this a one-off weird situation where you're just way overpaying, or are you following some kind of logic to your reasoning? So for example, what do you think that buyer was going to spend in the rehab on that house? What would be your guess? Maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but do you know?
Yeah, I would ballpark it, Jerry, probably somewhere between 30 and 35.
That's what I was thinking. So if you take 75 plus 35, he's all in at 110 with a 135 ARV. Now, if you're a flipper, that's a terrible deal.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You're a fix and flipper, that's a terrible deal, because by the time you pay commissions, closing fees, and carry costs, if you got finance,
10 grand.
money, yeah. Why would you do that deal? That's a terrible deal. But maybe there's something else going on, or that's a buyer that just way overpays. Maybe they do it themselves. Maybe they're only going to spend 5 and rent it. Maybe maybe they think it's worth 150 and they're only going to spend 25, right? Like, what is going on? And it's not that there's a right or wrong answer. That's that buyer's prerogative, what they do. You just our job is to bring buyers deals at their number, right?
Invite them to the party.
That's right.
Yeah, not to judge, but I want to understand what's going on.
And Jerry, something that's been helpful in my business as you get going more and more, we always talk about building cash buyers lists, and that's because there is always the outlier. There's always I just love this neighborhood, and so I'm going to get emotional and overpay in this neighborhood. Yeah. And that's going to be maybe the only house they ever buy from me. Yeah. But if it's a list of, thousands of people, there's always going to be outliers versus if I've only got 10 people to shop a deal to.
Well,
it's not going to happen.
You always get a premium when you wholesale to a flipper who is active in that neighborhood. You always will.
That's right.
They like that neighborhood. They've done a deal in that neighborhood. They've dialed in some things in that neighborhood. Maybe they know something you don't know about ARV. Maybe they know something you don't know about the rehab, right? But flippers love to flip in the same neighborhoods where they're flipping. So I caught that. You said, yeah, he did a deal two streets over or whatever. And so you're probably getting a premium just for that.
The other thing is they could be very aware of it. Like, you got to understand, guys, just a few months ago, we had a fireman on our cash buyers list. And to a fireman, he's like, hey, I have 4 days and then 4 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on. And he's like, if I can make an additional 15 grand this year, he doesn't care that it's going to take him 6 months to rehab it because he's on and off with his fireman job. He just loves the fact that he's like, I can add an additional 15 grand. Now, a normal fix and flipper is like, I'm not touching this deal unless I make it at least 30. That's why I say, and why Jerry says, hey, it's not up to us to judge who wants to buy it and what they want to pay it for, because their intention's completely different. This fireman's happy as a lark to make 15 grand additional income to his firefighting income. And who's to say that, yeah, that's a home run for him. It doesn't have to be 30 grand, because to him, 15 grand is a huge win. And that's why it's crucial, like Greg is saying, have a big cash buyers list. You don't want to be able to have to be what I call a CBE, cash buyers employee. You don't want to be a cash buyers employee. You want to be a cash buyers employee, have 10 people on your list. But if you want to make the most money possible on each one of your deals because you're working your tail off to find them, have a big cash buyers list, and don't feel bad about what people pay. They're buying it based off of their knowledge and based off of their intent of what they want to do with the property.
And the full-time flipper industry, they are way out of formula right now. They are way overpaying. They are, a lot of them, legitimately okay to make 10 or 15,000 on a deal. I mean, I won't touch it for that, right? But a lot of flippers will. And so if you're a wholesaler, there is no formula. The formula is, what will an active, willing, ready to go buyer pay? That's the formula, right? Yeah. So we want to learn that. And so then we can bring deals at their formula.
Guys, look at this. Greg, you got everyone fired up. Magical text. Come on. And then, what's the magic text? And then, I need that magical text. I love this. Guys, this is pretty much in line with how simple this text is. Gabriel, good man. Is that your highest and best? Woo! I like it, guys. I like it. Yeah, guys, this is right in line with it when you're looking at the text down below. That's the magic, whether you have one buyer or 10 cash buyers. If you just simply send a text that says, is this your highest and best? They don't know they're the only cash buyer unless you tell them they're the only cash buyer. That's and right. Then sometimes they come back and just say, no, my highest and best is this. Perfect. I'll get back with you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I love it. Well, Greg, my friend, I want to thank you for being on here. Jerry, you'll probably thank you guys. My goodness, you're doing great things and you're doing it right. Like, you just gave some solid gold to each one of our listeners and those that are chiming in that really want to take away gold nuggets. I feel like you delivered. So I want to thank you.
Well, thank you guys. It's been fun. I really appreciate you having me.
Okay. Jerry, you ready for some live Q&A?
Let's do it.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, guys, here we go. We got some time here to answer some Q&A. So I'm going to bring them up. And Jerry, if there's something that you're familiar with that you want to attack, my friend. Let's see. I'm going to bring up, there was one in here. double close. Do you like the double close method, Jerry, or do you like just the simple assignment? Do you like to close on the property first? Let's make sure I break it down for everyone. Do you like to just close on the property first so you own it and then turn around and sell it? And in some states, you may have to do that, just so you guys know. Or where the states that you can just simply assign it, what's your method?
Well, I mean, a true assignment is always the simplest, fastest way to get a deal done, because you don't have to come to money with any money. You don't have to do the whole 2 closings back to back simultaneous, any of that. You don't have to go raise money for transactional funding. I mean, there's so many benefits to a true assignment that, I mean, if you can do an assignment first and foremost, why not? Now, the only time I really want to do a double close is strategic. 1 of 2 reasons. There's a no assignment clause and I can't get around it, which I still get around it doing an LLC, and I have a whole technique about that. Or I don't want my cash buyer to see how big my assignment fee is for fear of him, backing out of the deal. And that's a common reason why a lot of people do a double closing. But I will say in 2020 and into 2021, I'm doing a lot of, I call them takedowns. A lot of people call them wholesale. Where I don't double close with a cash buyer where I line up the buyer once I get the contract. I actually don't get a cash buyer. I don't want a cash buyer. I want to close, and then I want to put it out as a property I own, typically on the MLS.
Yeah, and find a retail buyer instead of selling it to a cash buyer, which is ultimately your higher tier or highest paying buyer.
Or not. It's not always even a retail buyer. Sometimes it's a cash buyer, but the point is it's on the MLS.
More eyes.
Right. So sometimes I'll have an all cash property where it won't sell retail because it's too distressed. And I'll still take it down, buy it, close on it, put it back up for sale, and get a cash buyer that's watching the MLS come forward. And I've just found that because of the low inventory, if there's any way possible I can take a deal down and put it back up on MLS, I get way more money, way more than something on a list where I do an assignment or a double close. And again, you get more eyeballs on the MLS because you're out to everybody. It's public. You go from your list of how many ever, 1,000, 100, whatever, to now your entire market seeing it on market, right? So, but there's some nuances to that, right? Because now you got to fund it. You got to close it, take title. So if you have a cash problem, you're not good at raising money, you don't have financing in line, then that becomes now a limitation for you to do that. But if you can do it, and I recommend everybody start figuring out your financing, because the best way to scale your business and get into bigger deals and get into fix and flip and get into other things is to learn how to raise private money, learn how financing works, learn how to carry properties, because it just opens up an entire world. And I'm getting outside of wholesaling right now, but there's properties where I've got deals right now, Cody, where, I'll buy it for 65.
Yeah.
I could probably wholesale it for 70, maybe 75, but by buying it, spend $1,500 cleaning it out and maybe doing a trash out and my cleaning person put the thing up for $99.9 and get 95 or 90 for it.
Yeah.
I would never get from a cash buyer on my list. They just won't pay that much because it's worth 110, 115 and it needs work. But there's so many of these retail buyers that just can't find a deal, or handyman buyers that'll do the work themselves, or like you mentioned, a fireman who's okay to make 5 or 10 grand. There's a ton of those out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're not on your list. They're not on your list, but they're out there, right? So that's why a takedown, even paying commissions, even paying closing fees, even paying financing fees, I'll try to net 20 grand. So I have a kind of a rule, Cody, where if it's like $100,000, sale price, if I can buy it, take it down, and close with a $30,000 spread from what I think I can retail it for on the MLS, that gives me about 10 grand in closing costs and commissions. I make 20 where I probably would have made 5 on the deal if I bought, on a cash buyer list. So, those are just some unique ways to be thinking about the market right now, guys, and the opportunities. And it's all driven by low inventory.
I love it. And Jerry, you're also playing in a market that has low inventory. So you guys got to understand, this is a deal that when you put it on the market, you don't have to over improve it, because it's already in such high demand anyways. That's hard to find good deals right now. And you want to know that price point, $100,000. For example, our price point, if we can get an ARV, after repair value, of 300,000 or less in Salt Lake, it's like on time. Like, it's like we're trying to figure every way of, okay, if we can make a chunk of money on the wholesale, great. But you got to understand that market, when you list it, you literally have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 offers, and they're all over asking price in that price point in Salt Lake. And so it's knowing some of those things, that there's low inventory. You can't find many good homes under 300K, and you're not finding enough of them. There's more buyers than there is actual inventory. And so people are throwing bids. When it hits the market, it's going quick, and you don't have to over improve some of these homes because this market's so hot. So know those things that Jerry's even saying. 100 grand, that probably is that sweet spot where there's more buyers than there's inventory, and it goes quick.
Yeah. And 100 grand is not ARV. That's not ARV. That's not fixed up. ARV is 120. 90, 95 is as is.
Okay.
But it's as is on market now. And I bought it for 65. I'm selling it as is. I didn't do anything to it. Maybe cleaned it.
Yeah.
I didn't rehab it. I didn't update anything. I just put it back out there in a neighborhood where there's no homes for sale, and it gets matched up.
Do you ever have any, just to show people so that they understand also, there can be, like, everyone's like, oh, what about this? Or what about this happens? Here's the only thing I can see, and Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong. The only thing I can see that Jerry can sit on, because he has the money to sit on it, is if an FHA home buyer or first-time home buyer comes to buy this, typically those homes are going to have to be seasoned for 90 days, meaning Jerry's going to have to hold it for 90 days before he can resell it to a first-time home buyer. And so that's the only thing I can think of in my head, that if you're going to go that route and do it, just be careful knowing that you're either gonna have to sell them based on hey, instead of getting that loan, you're gonna have to go to a different conventional loan like Freddie Mae, Fannie Mac, or Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You're gonna have to go a different route if you want to close on this quickly, but otherwise you're gonna have to wait 90 days and have it seasoned. Yes.
In fact, thank you for bringing that up. That is a real concern. I deal with it constantly on my takedown deals, because I'm at a price point where 99% of buyers are FHA buyers. And FHA has an anti-flipping rule. Like Cody said, they have an anti-flipping rule where you have to season it for 90 days. And it's not 90 days from when you bought it to when they close. It's 90 days from when you bought it to when you contract with them.
Yeah.
And then 45 days to close with FHA. But the way we're handling that right now is, well, first of all, we normally get like tons of offers. And then what we do is we take our FHA buyers and we turn them conventional. Now, not all of them can do it, but there are a lot of conventional programs right now that are 5%, 10% down if the credit's right. So we basically say, listen, if you want this property that badly, we can't go FHA because of the seasoning rule. In fact, why don't you come talk to our lender? They're amazing. What's your credit score? Let's look at this. We can still get you in with little down. We can still do seller concessions. We can still do some of these things, but we've got to move you from FHA to conventional. And we're finding that a lot of people can do it. A lot of people can do it. They just don't know they can do it. They've been advised to go FHA, but they really can get a conventional loan. Now, not always. We've had to lose some buyers where we were like, man, I wish I could close with this buyer because they'll pay full price or whatever, and we can't. But, that's just kind of one of the things to deal with. So you have to deal with that.
Yep. Love it. Here's one. What was the first thing you had to do to start your business? Go on that, and then I'll go again. Or do you want me to head off on this?
You take that one.
First thing I had to do, guys, is I had to build up a confidence in myself. What do I mean by this? I was doing everything I could in my power as an insurance agent to do whatever I could to bring in income. It wasn't a lack of work. It wasn't a lack of drive. I had that. What I didn't have is I lacked the right instruction. I didn't have a mentor over me saying, guys, if you really want to build a big book of business in insurance, you've got to do it this way. I didn't have that. And so the first thing to build mine is I knew what didn't work, and I lived it. I lived the pain so much that I knew what I wanted differently the next time I did it. And that was, I wanted to find someone that was already doing it. Someone that I literally would be like, man, I would love to switch places with this individual. Once I found that individual, I just simply received instruction. And yes, it did cost me money. It doesn't always have to cost money, but I find that some of the greatest advice is stuff that you have to pay for. You get that proximity. And that's what I did different this time. So the way I started my wholesaling business was I had to find someone that was in the place that was already doing deals so that I could just simply receive the instruction, because I knew I would take the right action. I mean, I knew I'd give it my all. I knew I'd give it harder than if he told me I would have had to pluck a hair out of a camel's back, I would have done it. If that was the process, I would have done it, and I would have done it better than anyone. But I just needed someone that could give me the right instruction. And then I knew I'd take action harder than anyone. So that's my biggest thing is find someone, whether that costs you or not, find someone that's in the destination that you want to be at and seek advice from that individual, versus sometimes you go into those like Facebook groups and you start talking and you'll see a bunch of advice. And the only reason I can say this is because now that we'll do 150 deals this year between our two markets, and I'll see some of the advice and I just cringe. I'm like, this guy that gave the advice has never done a deal, because that actually won't work. That's not even close. And so sometimes we seek advice from the wrong individuals. So make sure, if you want to be a millionaire, don't seek advice from someone that makes $60,000 a year. That doesn't mean that guy doesn't have sound wisdom at being a good dad or something else, but he's never made $1 million. And so seek advice from someone that's making $1 million and see if that aligns with how you want to do it. That's the whole principle behind this. Find people that are doing it and only take advice from those people. And that has been my biggest secret to success.
Love that. You want me to answer one? You want me to answer two?
I'd love for you to do it, because I'm actually curious myself what you would say to start out.
Well, so my answer might not be what you're looking for or even the right answer, I guess. But the way I approached it when I started the business was there was no thing I did to start. And where I'm going with this is, it never was for me, you know what, I'm going to try this, but I got a plan B over here, and I'm going to try this and see how I do. I'm going to give it my best shot. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go back over to what I was doing, or I'm going to try something else. When I went into this business, it was never if it's going to work. It was always when it's going to work. And when you have that attitude, at least the way I dealt with it was kind of like jumping into the deep end of the pool and then just doggy paddling for all I had. I did not know, and I didn't know. And there wasn't like, if only I had this thing or that thing, or once I get this figured out, I'll be successful. It was just, I'm going to go apply myself. I'm going to learn every day, whatever it is that I run into. I'm going to deal with those things, and I'm going to be successful at this. And that attitude of like no plan B, it was kind of like that analogy of
burn
like,
the boats,
burn the ships in the harbor, right? We're going home victorious, or we're going home dead. And that was my strategy. I'm going to the casket, or I'm going home the winner. And a lot of times I see people where they just don't quite want to commit. They're like, you know what, I'll dabble. And I just in my heart of hearts, I don't feel like you can do a deal, but you can't maintain a 6-figure income. You sure as hell can't get to a 7-figure income unless you are just diehard committed to this, which means there's no excuses. There's no, if only that would have happened, if I had the right mentor, if I had the right leads, if I had the right this, if I had the right that. None of that means a thing. It's not about not having money. It's none of that. It's not about not having time. If you commit your heart and soul to this, then all of those things work themselves out in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, many, many times, I hope Greg is still watching this. I have seen, great job, Greg. I've seen just accolades of that. So Greg, I want to make sure that you saw these posts. There's a lot of people that were inspired by your story, and I think it resonates really, really well with them. Jerry, just to kind of put a bow on what you just said, because it's so crucial. It's something I teach with every one of our students that I've ever worked with, is this attitude of progress, not perfection. Don't wait for a perfect plan. Jerry says that I will figure it out once I get there. And he's not just sitting on YouTube University. And guys, we both have YouTube channels. In fact, Jerry's the king of YouTube. So we're not steering you away from YouTube. But my point is, so many times we get caught up at YouTube University and we try to build this perfect plan. But I want you to understand, there's no such thing as a perfect plan. It doesn't exist. You've got to just simply take action on the knowledge you have, because everyone says knowledge is power. Stab me in the heart. Knowledge is only power once it's acted upon. You have to act upon it. So act upon the little knowledge that you have. You're going to face something that comes your way. We still do it now. We've been doing this since 2015, and we've done well over 800 deals now. And we still face new challenges, but we don't try to educate ourselves prior to that challenge. We just deal with it when it pops up. And Jerry's message, I just want to make sure you guys heard this. That knowledge is what will lead you to a deal faster than anything. A person taking imperfect action will always outperform the person taking perfect or sitting at home building a perfect plan, taking no action at all. You always hear that from even Tony Robbins. Take imperfect action. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. And you'll learn about it at that moment. I guarantee you that's the first time Greg sat there and he's like, oh my gosh, there's needles in this home. You deal with it at the point. He didn't go to YouTube and say, what do I do when I find a home that has needles sitting on the floor? You just face it when you hit it. Like at that point, you'll figure it out. When you think, oh, but what happens? Like, what if I go to title and there's a lien on it? Figure it out at that point. You can't prep for that. You just figure it out at that point. You'll look at it and be like, oh man, but if we go this route, we can still make this a deal. Or, oh no, unfortunately, I got to cancel the contract. But guys, figure it out at that point. Don't build a perfect plan. Perfect plans don't exist.
Love it.
Let's see. Dude, here's one funny for you, Jerry. Jerry, fix your camera. Guys, talk about imperfect action.
What's my camera?
Every now and again, it goes fuzzy, but I think it's more of an internet thing. His camera's good. It's probably an internet connection. Right now, it looks really good, Jerry.
Does it?
It does. It looks fantastic.
Joe McDaniels, I'll fix my camera just for you.
Let's see of our next question. Is motivated top cash offers. Let's see. What would be your advice to ambitious? Oh my goodness, Jerry, look at this, bro. What would be your advice to an ambitious 16-year-old that wants to start wholesaling real estate? I think you kind of tapped on this last time, but you probably have the best answer that I don't even want to expand on. And maybe you want to hit that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun to see this younger crowd wanting to do real estate and do flipping. So, I mean, the one thing you've got to realize is that in order to sign a contract legally, you have to be 18. So you got that great limitation right out of the gate, but that doesn't mean you can't still get in this business. So a couple things that I recommend would be you can bird dog for somebody, right? So tap into an active local wholesaler in your market and kind of go at them as an intern. Say, hey, I want to intern with you. I'll even do stuff for free. I know, Cody, you mentioned last time, go offer to do stuff for them for free. If you're living at home with no bills and you're not 18 yet, dude, imagine what you could get figured out. And then when you turn 18, you're like, boom, I'm on. You could get someone to co-sign for you, get your parents on board.
Yeah.
What if any parent who has a kid that's saying, I'm taking my free time to learn how to make money and I'm learning how to do this thing, will you support me and help me? Any parent's going to be supportive of that. Now, they may be scared to death to sign a contract on your behalf, but see what you can do to get your parents to support you, to get that first deal. Go out there and bird dog, look for properties for somebody. Go work for a wholesaler, just doing whatever they need help with. Maybe it's some list management, maybe it's some callbacks, maybe it's some scheduling, maybe it's some texting, and just be in that environment, be around it as much as you can. And that's going to just prepare you so much more for when you're ready to just kind of go out there and do this on your own. Third thing would be acquisitions. You can actually earn commission by learning how to do sales on the phone for a wholesaler. And I think that's just not 16, that's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds too. You can start in this business doing acquisitions on commission basis for a big wholesaler, and you can make a really good income. You can make, you start closing 4 or 5 deals a month, and now you're making 10 times more than your buddies are at age 20, right? So, and then that can be your launch into your own business, wholesaling. So those are some ideas I'd consider.
Ditto. Don't even want to expand on that. That was perfect. All right, Jerry, here's a good one. Does having a real estate license matter? Guys, here's one of those things, right, that we think that things have to be aligned perfect. Now, I will tell you, there are some states where they may require that, or that after 3 transactions, you now have to be a licensed realtor to do the 4th action or 5th transaction. But for most individuals across this great nation, no, you do not need to have a real estate license. I would check with the local real estate attorney, just figure out, get their blessing and move forward. Let me tell you some of the benefits of why in Utah and Texas, why I don't have my license or a broker's license. I don't want to, you have to abide by certain rules. As a realtor, then you have to also adopt every rule that they have. And there's some things that I just want to be a buyer. That's it. I don't want to have to mention on all of my marketing, oh, and by the way, I'm a licensed real estate agent. In the state of Utah, if I'm an agent, I also have to state that in all of my marketing. That's one of just the many, many, many laws that come with it. And so just check with your local real estate attorney would be my best advice. Jerry's going to advise some things here too, but I would say check with them and get what fits for you. It didn't fit for me to be a licensed real estate agent because I don't want to be a licensed real estate agent. And I don't want the clutter or the confusion that I'm sitting on an appointment and I'm like, well, if he doesn't want to sell it at a discount, maybe now I'll just turn this appointment around and say, hey, I could list this property for you. Like most people, if they have that mindset, they're going to go where water goes easiest, and they're going to do a listing every single time and never become the investor. And I just don't want to have a 3% mentality or a 6% mentality. I want to be able to make as much money as possible. Now, when I say this, guys, please understand my meaning behind this. I've talked to Jerry many times about this. It's money is a tool to bless other people's lives, not just my own life and my family's lives. It's an opportunity with the church I belong to that I can help young individuals that can't afford to go in our church. They go serve missions. I love to be able to help fund those missions so that they can get their luggage, get their clothes to be able to go to another country. And sometimes it's right here within the United States, and fund that for them. I love to be able to help people during Christmas. I love doing this. This is the blessing of being able to be in real estate is I now make the money that I can also help my neighbor, that I can help my friends, that I can help those that I feel need help. And so when I tell you I want to make as much money as possible, it's because my dreams and goals are to serve as many people as possible, that this money just passes through me. It doesn't stop with me. I don't drive fancy cars. Like I use it so that, yes, do I bless my life and my family's life? Yes, but we pass it through and we bless other people's lives. So that's the big thing I'd say when it comes. I don't want to be constricted or go where I make the least amount of money. I want to make the most money possible because my dreams are big to bless a lot of people's lives. Jerry?
Yeah, so I take it a different approach, and I respect that. I respect that angle that you have, Cody, on your license. And first of all, in most markets, it's not required. You don't have to have your real estate license to wholesale. That is changing. Illinois has really come down hard on having a real estate license. You can do 1 transaction, then you have to be licensed. Philly is now requiring a license. It's not a real estate license. There actually is no pre-licensing class, but they are requiring licensing. And I think my take on it is, as wholesaling becomes more and more regulated, there's going to be more and more requirements to be licensed. And you got to remember, we compete directly with the real estate agents, and there is a lot of animosity between wholesalers and agents, mostly because agents look at us as competition and they don't think it's fair, or they're jealous we're making more money than them, right? And keep in perspective, guys, I am a licensed real estate agent. I'm in fact a licensed broker, and I own a brokerage with real estate agents. Now, I'm not an active agent. I don't operate as an agent. I make a lot of money with my license because we do a lot of referrals. And so like Cody said, a lot of times at that appointment, if I can't get the property at our cash price and they're dead set on a higher number, we will go for a listing. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to list it, but I'll turn them on to my agent, and I'll get half of the list commission, which is 1.5%, which pays for my licensing fees and dues and all of that, 100 times over, because just by having that license, I'm able to get referrals. You can't get referrals from agents unless you're licensed.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. Also, another major benefit to me, especially if you're in a non-disclosure state like Utah and like, New York and like Texas, there's, I think, 14 non-disclosure states. Getting data for free for comping is very difficult in a non-disclosure state. because you have incomplete data. They don't have to disclose square footage, price, and some of those things. So in any states where I do deals where there's where it's a non-disclosure state, I want to have a real estate agent or somebody licensed with access to the MLS so that I can get that data. So I just kind of feel my gut tells me long-term in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to all be forced to be licensed as wholesalers. And we're going to be forced to follow similar standards that agents have, which is continuing education, which is a code of conduct, which is ethics, standards, disclosures to sellers, all of those things, just because I'm seeing it happen so prevalent right now. And really what turned it for me, Cody, was when the state of Illinois did their big push.
Yeah.
It came down hard. If you violate their licensing law, it's a $25,000 fine. That's incredible. And you can only do one deal before they require you to be licensed.
Yeah.
When that happened, you better believe that's now a domino is going to happen. You're going to see more and more states and markets, municipalities follow suit. And so, if you're thinking long-term, big picture, it's probably not a bad idea to get your license anyway, because I think it's coming, and I think it's going to be coming pretty quick.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Guys, two sides of that coin you can see very, very well. That's what I love.
I will agree with you. You have to disclose that you're licensed if you're licensed. And that's a pain. When you do marketing, when you're at appointment, on your contracts, you have to say, I am a licensed real estate agent. It's mandatory by law that you disclose that you're licensed to protect the consumer, or so that they know, right? So
fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah.
I love it. Here's a good one. I really like this one. What if when I call a lead and they tell me there are no repairs needed on the property? What's a good way to justify my low offer if that's the case? Should I even continue with making an offer? So rainy day, cloudy. First of all, thank you for the question. Here's one that I will tell you. I never, unless you're virtual, so this is going to be a curveball. We don't do virtual. All of our stuff is in person. We never make offers over the phone. In fact, we don't even give ballparks over the phone. Our whole phone call is based off of motivation. So we're looking for, is the condition in bad repair, in need of repair? Is there a timeline crunch? They need to do it really, really quick. Is there a price where right now when they say the price, you're like, whoo, that's a deal. Let's get out there. Or is there like we call it driver? They're behind on taxes. They're going through divorce. They're behind on their mortgage. So we're really, the phone call is only to do that. Now, 9 times out of 10, in fact, let's step it up. 99 times out of 100, that makes it more than 9 times out of 10. Everyone wants a high price. Everyone. Even if Jerry came upon a hard time, he would still want highest and best for his home. That doesn't change. But I'm not going to be on the phone with Jerry to find out what his price is. I'm going to find out why. Why are you looking to sell your home? Why are you calling me on a 38-cent postcard? So we never talk price on my end. I never talk price with my seller over the phone. My team never talks with sellers over the phone price. All we're finding out is why. Why? And if there's motivation, we book an appointment and we go out there and we talk price face to face. Why? Because if you give them price over the phone, all they do is just shop that price and get someone else on the phone and see if they can get a higher price. Then they shop that price, and that's so on and so on. That's why virtual is really, really tough, is because it's really hard to lock them down. It's like me and you, if we were on Facebook, we're willing to say some things that we probably wouldn't say face to face. To the opposite, sellers come down on their price all the time. I always, my business partner just went on an appointment today, and the lady physically said, if you are 1 cent lower than 215,000, don't even come out. 215,000 was already an okay deal. Wasn't great, but is an okay deal. He goes out there and he challenged it. And he just basically said, hey, my warm and fuzzy's like around 190. And she's like, listen, I can't go a penny less than 200,000. And Mark's like, so if I could do 200,000 today, is that something we can put an agreement together? And notice that he's not saying, okay, I'll do 200,000, because now they'll be like, ooh, let's take that offer and let's shop it. Let's send them and say we need time to think about it. Mark literally sat there and just said, hey, if I'm able to do 200,000, could we move forward today? She said yes. So then he pulled out the agreement and got it. and he got it 15,000 less, then don't come out to my house. If you're a dollar or a penny less than 215, he gets it for 15K less. So don't go on appointments based off price is what I'm getting at. And don't base motivation on price, because 99 times out of 10, price is actually a deceiver and not a sign of motivation.
Yeah. So for me so I'll answer that too now, Cody. And the assumption that you're making, rainy day cloudy, is you're making the assumption that condition dictates price. And that's a logical conclusion to draw, right? Hey, if it doesn't need repairs, you don't get a discount. But that's what Cody's trying to tell you is motivation is also a huge factor in people's decision. There could be a pressing issue there where they need to close quickly. They don't have time to go retail. It could be that they don't want to pay the commissions. They don't want to pay closing fees. It could be any number of things where a property in good condition can still be sold. A seller still will sell that property at a discount for other reasons other than just condition. So a lot of times the mistake that we make is we discriminate leads based on certain things that we just assume. So for example, we assume that if they're asking 215, that they must not be motivated because a good buy price is 150, for example, or whatever, making that up. But we assume that, and then we don't pursue it. We don't make the offer. I have a rule, which is always make the offer. Don't discriminate a lead, just make the offer. When you make the offer, you now put that in front of a seller and you let them decide if they're motivated. You let them, that uncovers if they're motivated. But if you just walk away, don't make the offer, it's like you get to the 1 yard line and then you don't punt or you don't go for a touchdown, right? Go for the touchdown. You're there. You spent the money on marketing. You're on the phone. You're talking. Just give your number and see what happens. Don't discriminate is kind of my approach on that.
Love it. I want you to back it up with this one. Once you find a property, I think this is the essence, Jerry, of making sure everyone fully understands what wholesaling is. Once you find a property and get a contract, how do you sell the property if you haven't purchased it?
Yeah, we're going back here to wholesaling 101. So you're not going to purchase it. What you're going to do is you're going to take that contract, which is now an asset. You have equitable interest in the property by having that contract, because the contract says the seller can't sell it to anybody else. He's selling it to you at that price. And that contract is now an asset that you can, in essence, flip, not the house, the contract. So we do that with an assignment agreement, which the assignment agreement says, I'm going to take that contract that has obligations there, price, closing date, and so on, and I'm going to sign all of that equitable interest, that entire right to that property through the contract, to somebody else, aka a cash buyer, for a fee.
That's right.
And that's basically the essence of wholesaling when it comes to a true assignment of contract, which means no money, no ownership. You're not taking title. You're not owning it. You're not fixing it up. You're not making repairs. You're not doing anything other than taking that valuable asset you created with a contract on a property that's got value. You created equity when you got it under contract, and you're bringing that to a cash buyer. Another way I like to look at this is a lot of cash buyers, buy and hold investors, and fix and flippers. They don't want to spend the time, energy, and effort and money to find deals. They don't want to do that. They want to do their thing. They want a landlord or they want to fix and flip. So, but they know that there's value in finding good deals. Like, that's work. You're basically becoming the acquisitions department for a cash buyer, because you're willing to go out there and make offers and spend money on marketing and find leads and do all of that stuff to get that good deal and bring it to a cash buyer at their number that they want it at. And you just save them so much work by bringing them that good deal. That's what you're doing.
Well said. Well said. Is it ever about the money with the seller? Yes. There's many times you go on an appointment, it's all about the money. They could care less that you'd provide a dumpster. They could care less. Yes. Does that mean we don't come across those? Yes, we come across them all the time. And at the end of the day, we still serve them. We still find a great option for them, even if it's not us. Maybe it's refer them to a real estate agent that we like, love, trust, because they don't know one. So yes, we still serve them at a very high level, regardless if it's us or not. And yes, you will go on appointments where it's all about the money, and sometimes you just can't pay that price, and that's okay. Still serve them.
That's going to be most of the time. Remember, a motivated seller is willing to trade equity for peace of mind. They're willing to sell it at a discount because they just want rid of that property and the stress and anxiety and headache that it's causing them. So they're trading. They're saying, hey, here's equity. Just get this thing out of my life.
Yeah.
But like the 5% of people, that's the 95% of people want retail. They're willing to wait. They're willing to hold out. They're willing to do things. They're willing to go on market, pay commissions, whatever.
Yep.
There's no motivation there to discount it.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Couple more. How would you maneuver in a competitive area where you have other wholesalers? What makes you stand out? So, I really believe this in its purest form. I believe, for example, when people, I've had this question where, man, I'm broke. I truly believe I'm broke is actually a mindset, and it's not a reality. It's a mindset, right? And I look at it like this as well. In a competitive market, I look at it as it's a mindset. It's only as real as, like, how many realtors are out there? How many professional painting companies are out there? How many tile setters are there? How many realtors? How many you name it. Name any job out there, and there's many of them in every market. And so the difference is how you stand out is what value do you bring? This is going back to now one of my favorite books. It's called The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. Incredible book. Read that book because it's all about your pay, or how much you make in life is directly tied to how much value you bring to people. So yes, you all may be sending out the same marketing, but the moment you get on the phone, how do you sound different? By not having commission breath, by not just caring about the deal, but care about the individual. You hear it from Zig Ziglar. No one cares about what you have to say until they know that you care about them. How do you make that rapport? How do you connect with them? There's times, guys, where we do silly things and we stand out different. Sometimes they're talking to us. We don't write anything down about, oh, my house is a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. Okay. To me, I could care less. To some people, they love that, and that's the only notes they have. I don't have any notes on the home. When I'm talking to someone, they talk about, oh man, did you see the Star Wars movie that came out? That's my favorite. And I'm like, man, this person loves Star Wars. Like, we didn't even talk about it, and they brought it up. And the next time I'm at like Walmart, I'll literally, with my kids, like maybe they're looking for a toy or something. If I see like a Star Wars figurine, I'll literally do a video with my phone. I'll be like, Sarah, hey, I know this is random. I just wanted to check in with you. We talked a couple days ago, and I remember you said something about Star Wars being your favorite character, like your favorite thing in the world. I'm here at Walmart. Check out these figurines. I'm actually going to pick one of these up and drop it by one of these days. Anyways, just thinking about you. And I send a video text, guys, and people love that. Like, love that. And then follow through with it. When I'm out on an appointment and I talk to someone and they say, so Dante, I love these questions. How do you stand out? When I'm on an appointment and the seller says, you know, I'm debating about either selling it to an investor or fixing it up myself. Awesome. If you were to fix it up yourself, what are you going to do? Well, I know in the back it needs a new window. I know it needs a new furnace. I know it needs new flooring. How I do follow-up, I hate when people call. This is what will separate you. Most will call and say, hey, Jerry, we talked a couple days ago. Remember, I was the one that came to your house? Like, you're going to get blacklisted really quick. I literally would be like this. Hey, Jerry, I came out to your place a couple days ago. I was just driving by Home Depot, and they said they have a 50% off any one window. And I just wanted you to know about it because I remember you said you had to fix a window in the back. And I just wanted to let you know about it. How are things going? And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's serving me. I don't give all 3 of the things that he needs in his home in that same phone call, because if I need another follow-up, I want to do the second one. Hey, Jerry, a week later, I was going by, and we actually rent an office above a flooring company. And right now they say if you buy the flooring through them, they'll actually install it for free. I just wanted you to know about it because I remember you said that you need new flooring. Guys, this is a very real life story. That individual, I caught him at the right time where he says, I'm so frustrated. I'm here all the time. I now don't see my wife. I don't want to fix and flip. Cody, please come out and make me an offer. But I made follow-up about him, genuinely serving him, helping him save money, finding ways to help fix up that home. And then we ended up getting the deal. So that's how you separate yourself in a competitive market. I believe in collaboration, not competitive. I believe we're all going to the ocean with 5-gallon buckets. I truly believe that. Jerry, anything you want to throw?
Yeah, well, first of all, Dante, I want to challenge your question and the intention of your question, which is, are you allowing a competitive market become a limitation for you?
Great
In other
question.
words, saying to yourself, it's hard because it's competitive, or I don't know that I can do as well because it's competitive. And competition is a mindset, just like money is a mindset. If you believe it's too competitive in your market to do deals, it's too competitive in your market to do deals. The great thing about a competitive market is the transactions are happening fast, and there's usually a lot going on. There's deals happening, which means you only need to carve out a sliver of the pie to make a lot of money and do really well, right? You don't need to be, it doesn't take much to dominate in a competitive market. The other thing I'll say is I love what Cody said about the relationships, because in a competitive market, there's wholesalers that are going to outspend you every time all day long. They're going to spend more money on data, more money on leads, more money on marketing, and you just cannot compete with those big players. I'm talking the guys like Cody, doing 20 deals a month kind of guys. You are going to get squashed if you're going head to head with them. Where you can win out though, and where you can have an advantage over a huge player like Cody, if you're in his markets, is he can't give the same detail to attention. He wants to, he tries to, he's working on it, but he just can't. He's too big, right? So his list is too big. He's doing so much marketing that you can have an advantage where you can actually spend more time than he's willing to spend on a lead, follow up more than maybe he's following up on a lead, build a relationship with a small cash buyer list, whereas he just doesn't have time to nurture all 10,000 people or whatever on his list. So you can take advantage of that and go up against the Jerry Norton juggernauts or the Codys, and you can use that as an advantage. Play to your strengths. Look at your relationships like, hey, if I can come in and, because Cody's so big, he's got acquisitions people on the phones now. It's not him. How can I outsmart that guy he's got on the phone that's still in training or whatever, or how can I become so valuable to my cash buyers that they want that personal relationship? They want that hands-on approach. Now, you're going to face the same pressure when you scale, which is, how do I maintain my relationships while I grow? You're going to have that same issue, which is awesome. You're going to transition just like I have and just like Cody has and others. But my point here is, how can you stand out? You asked that question. What can you do differently than others are doing? I'll tell you what I've done personally in Phoenix. So I moved to Phoenix 3 years ago, and there's no way I want to compete at the 300,000 price point. I just don't. There's so many wholesalers here. Phoenix is the #1 flipping capital of the entire US. And I moved there, why would I do that? But
it's literally corporate headquarters for every coach and every wholesaler.
Right. So what I've done in Phoenix in that market is I've gone high end. So I did a deal where Net Worth Realty, which they do about 20 wholesales a month, they brought me a deal at the 600,000 buy. Now I ended up fixing it, reselling it for 1.5. Okay. Bought it for 620, flipped it for 1.5. When I put it out for sale, I had 2 full price cash offers on the first day it was active. Okay. Now, when that wholesaler brought me that deal, he had no idea how to take it down. He did a $5,000 assignment fee. He basically said, Jerry, I don't even want to contract this thing. I'm going to put you in direct contact with the seller. I trust you. Pay me $5,000 if you get the deal done. And we did. But he said to me, we do 20 deals a month here, and I have 2 people on my list that can take down a deal like this, and you're one of them. Now, I niched out in Phoenix. Like I separate myself from everybody else by going into a price point, going into a type of market, type of strategy that there's very little competition. I could do the same thing going the other way with mobile homes or condos or whatever it is, assisted living, commercial, lots, whatever. There are ways and opportunities right under your nose. And the more you can niche out and get away from what everybody's doing, then the more opportunities you can create for yourself. At least think about it. Have that as an option to think about.
Awesome. Well, Jerry, I think that is a phenomenal way to end this. You guys, before I turn over to Jerry for a solid close on this, I want to tell you guys, thank you for being with us. We got some great feedback that you guys wanted us to do this more consistently, and we wanted to respond to let you know we heard all the responses in the last time we did this. So we want to thank you guys. You guys help make this great. It's not the Jerry and Cody show that make it great. It's this great collaboration of amazing questions, amazing guests. Greg Burney, like, come on. Like, that was a fantastic guest that broke down and gave some real value, real-time gold nuggets on a deal he just recently did that you guys could literally just implement. And hopefully you heard enough things that you would get motivated to just go do a deal tonight, because he shared such in-depth some of these things. And then Jerry and I, we always were going to do our best to just serve you guys, help you guys, get you guys out there, get uncomfortable, not comfortable, get uncomfortable. But thank you. Thank you for being with us. You could have been anywhere right now. You could have been doing things on the East Coast. It's getting really late, but thank you so much, guys. Jerry, final words.
Yeah, so a couple housekeeping things, guys. Because we did this live streaming, if you're watching it live, there's obviously the chat, which was very active tonight. Sorry we weren't able to get to all the questions. I mean, but keep participating. What happens is when we end this, the chat kind of turns off, so we can't really go back onto the chat. So go down to the comments if you're on my YouTube channel watching this, or even I think on some of the other platforms, and put your question in the comment. And that now is something that we can go back to. And I try really hard to go to the comments. I know, Cody, you're willing to go to the comments. So we want to serve you. We do this to serve you. So transition from the chat part of the live streaming and go to the comments, so that way we can try to answer those as best we can. And please give us feedback. I know my video quality sucked. Thank you for that feedback. We'll work on that. But please give us feedback. Please let us know your ideas, what would be helpful for you out there in the trenches doing the business. We want to know what we talk about that's helpful, how we can serve you better. This is a lot of work. It's a big time commitment for both Cody and me. We're now getting into family time right now.
Yep.
I want you guys, please, to recognize that sacrifice. Know that we're here to serve you, and we love you. We want you to be successful at this business. And just, I would love it. My wife thinks it feeds my ego and my head gets really big, but please let us know if you found value in this video. Say, Jerry and Cody, you are flipping geniuses. Leave it in the comment section, not the chat section, so we can have that there. But no, honestly, we really want to do our very best to make this the #1 place you guys want to come to learn wholesaling, learn real estate, learn flipping, and make this something that we can do and it be wildly successful for everybody. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week, Jerry.
I was looking at the calendar.
That's close to Christmas.
I'm going to be in Montana at the lake house. I don't know how my video quality is going to be up there with the internet, but I kind of want to make this something people can count on. I want to make it something that's consistent. So
we'll figure this out, guys. Plan on next week, whether Jerry can make it because of reception or not. I will be here, and we'll figure it out, guys. We'll figure this out.
All right.
Okay, guys, take care. See ya.